Welcome back to the deep dive. I am so excited for today's topic because we're doing something that I think is going to resonate with, well, literally every single person listening.
Yeah, it's a really fun pivot from our usual stuff.
Right. Usually we're out here talking about, I don't know, the future of AI or the history of the Roman Empire. Really big, heavy topics. But today we're going microscopic. We are zooming in on the things you do every single day, specifically through the lens of language.
It is a fascinating pivot, honestly. We are looking at a stack of source material today called the English Break series.
Yeah.
And it's essentially a 3-part audio drama that covers a single 24-hour cycle. The whole mission of this series, and our mission today, is to analyze the vocabulary of the daily routine.
Right. And just to set the stage here, the source material is specifically designed for English learners. Or, people who just really love the nuts and bolts of casual conversation.
Exactly.
So for everyone listening, we are going to keep the pacing moderate. We aren't going to be using $10 academic words today.
No, not at all.
We're going to be looking at the everyday words we use to describe waking up, getting to work, falling asleep. But we want to go deep. We want to find the hidden gems in the mundane stuff.
Yeah, because the goal isn't just to list words, it's to understand the feel of them. Like, why do we say we are packed like sardines?
Right.
Or why is it called revenge bedtime procrastination? And there's just so much culture and psychology hidden in these little everyday phrases.
And to help us navigate this 24-hour day, the source material gives us two guides, two very different characters. We have Leo and we have Sarah.
Oh man, these two. They're basically the north and south poles of human existence.
That is the perfect way to describe it. Let's introduce them properly because I think you, the listener, are going to identify with one of them immediately.
Oh, without a doubt.
So let's start with Leo.
Okay, Leo. If you look at the character profile in the source text, Leo is the absolute archetype of the morning person. But he's not just a morning person. He is an optimizer. He's disciplined. He is healthy. He's the guy who has already lived a full, productive life before you've even opened your eyes.
Oh, totally. Leo's the guy who posts a photo of his sunrise run on Instagram while I'm still, drooling on my pillow.
Exactly.
The text says he meditates, he meal preps, which we will definitely discuss later, and he unplugs from technology strictly at night. He is operating at 100% efficiency. He's the aspirational self.
He really is. And then on the other side of the ring, we have Sarah.
Oh, Sarah is my spirit animal. I love Sarah.
Sarah represents the harsh reality for a lot of us. In the first part of the source material, she introduces herself with a line that I think deserves an award.
Let's hear.
She says, "I am currently 10% human and 90% coffee."
Haha. I have never related to a sentence more in my entire life.
Wow.
She calls herself a zombified creature in the text. She's chaotic, she's relatable, she's completely dependent on caffeine for basic brain function. And she is very prone to staying up way too late for absolutely no reason.
So the hook for today's deep dive is that we are going to follow these two distinct characters, Leo and Sarah, through the morning war, the daily grind, and the night rituals.
Right.
And by contrasting the super disciplined Leo way of speaking with the chaotic Sarah way of speaking, we're going to uncover a treasure trove of English vocabulary.
It's the battle between clocking in and hitting the snooze button. So let's just get right into it. Part 1, the morning war. This is all drawn from the first episode of the source material.
And every war begins with a catalyst. In this case, it is the universal enemy, the wake-up call.
Yes. Let's look at the opening dialogue because it sets the scene so perfectly.
Yeah.
You have Leo, who sounds like he's just consumed 5 energy drinks, but naturally.
Naturally, yeah.
He's like, "Good morning. I've been up since 5:00 a.m.
5:00 a.m. That's just aggressive.
It's offensive, is what it is. And he just lists his accomplishments. He's meditated, he's jogged, he's finished his green tea. He is fully activated.
And then you have Sarah. The text describes her voice as lazy and groggy. She's complaining that Leo's smile is too bright. But this interaction leads us to the most critical vocabulary phrase of the morning routine. It centers around the alarm clock.
The phrase is, hit the snooze button.
Hit the snooze button. Now, we all know what this is physically. It's that little button you press when you aren't ready to face reality. But let's dig into this vocabulary. Why do we say hit?
Well, looking at the text, Sarah describes it as a battle. You aren't gently pressing it, you are striking it. You want the noise to stop immediately.
Exactly. You hit it. And the function of the snooze button is to pause the alarm, usually for 9 minutes, to give you a little bit more sleep. But Leo has a very strong opinion on this in the source text. He calls the snooze button a trap.
A trap. That's a strong word for a clock.
It is. But think about it. A trap is something designed to catch you. Leo argues that by hitting snooze, you aren't actually sleeping. You're just delaying the inevitable.
Right.
And biologically, he's actually right. You're entering a fragmented sleep state. You're groggier than if you just got up the first time.
But Sarah doesn't care about biology.
No.
She cares about those 9 minutes of peace. She admits she hits the snooze button every 9 minutes. And she uses a metaphor here that I absolutely love. She compares her morning to a game of whack-a-mole.
Whack-a-mole! This is such a culturally specific reference, but it paints such a vivid picture.
Yeah, for anyone who didn't grow up going to an arcade, maybe explain whack-a-mole really quickly.
Okay, so imagine a big wooden cabinet with holes in the surface, and you have a soft, padded mallet, like a hammer. Plastic moles pop up randomly out of the holes, and your job is to smash them back down into the holes before they hide again. It's chaotic, it's repetitive, and it's basically endless.
So when Sarah says her morning is like whack-a-mole, she means her phone is the mole. It screams, she hits it. It screams again, she hits it again. It's a cycle of violence.
Haha, a cycle of violence against an iPhone. That is the perfect description. And speaking of the alarm screaming, we need to talk about the phrasal verb used here. The text says the alarm goes off.
Okay, yes. This is one of those English phrases that drives learners crazy.
Absolutely.
Because usually the word off means stop or deactivate. If I turn off the light, the room gets dark. If I turn off the TV, it goes silent. But when an alarm goes off, it actually starts making noise.
Right. It's totally counterintuitive. Think of a bomb. When a bomb goes off, it explodes. When a gun goes off, it fires. It implies an activation, usually a really loud or sudden one.
Oh, that makes sense.
So Sarah's alarm goes off and she hits the snooze. Leo's alarm goes off and well, what does he do?
The text says Leo jumps out of bed.
Jumps. Note the verb choice there. High energy. Vertical movement. He is defying gravity immediately.
And Sarah, she crawls.
She crawls like a baby. Or perhaps more accurately, like a zombie pulling itself out of a grave.
Yeah. It implies she's on all fours. She has no structural integrity yet. And then she does something that is my favorite phrase in this entire section. She says she sits on the edge of the bed and she zones out.
Zone out. Let's spend a moment on this one. It's incredibly common in casual spoken English.
How would you define it for our listeners?
To zone out is to disconnect from your surroundings. Your eyes are open. You might be looking at a wall or a shoe or just nothing at all. But your brain is completely offline. You aren't thinking about anything. You are just existing.
The text uses a really good computer metaphor here. It describes zoning out as rebooting the brain.
That's a great analogy. You know when your laptop freezes and you have to restart it?
Yeah, the worst.
And for about 30 seconds, the screen is black or there's just a little spinning wheel. You can't type, you can't click. That is Sarah on the edge of the bed. She is waiting for her operating system to load.
She says she needs 10 minutes of zoning out just to become human. I feel that. I really do. So once the reboot is finally complete, they move to the next battlefield, which is the bathroom routine.
And again, the contrast between Leo and Sarah here is just stark.
Yeah. Sarah needs a shock to the system. She uses the phrase, splash cold water.
Splash. That's a very kinetic verb. You aren't gently washing your face. You are throwing water.
She says it's like an electric shock. She needs that physical jolt to wake up.
Whereas Leo takes a refreshing shower. The word refreshing implies it gives him energy, it makes him feel clean and new. But then we get into the grooming vocabulary, and Sarah introduces a very specific term here. Concealer.
Concealer. This is a makeup term, but it comes from the verb to conceal, which just means to hide.
Exactly. Spies conceal weapons. Sarah conceals dark circles.
Those are the purple or blue shadows under your eyes when you haven't slept enough. Sarah explicitly says that without concealer, she looks like a character from a horror movie.
Which fits her zombified creature brand perfectly. Meanwhile, Leo's routine is purely utilitarian. He shaves and brushes his teeth. Simple, fast, efficient. He doesn't need to conceal anything because he slept 8 hours.
The jerk. But okay, so they're clean, they are awake-ish. Now they have to face what Leo calls the final boss.
The closet crisis.
I love that he calls it the final boss. That's video game terminology for the hardest enemy at the very end of the level. For Sarah, the hardest enemy is deciding what to wear.
We have all been there. The text says she stands in front of the closet and stares. Just like she zoned out on the bed, now she is zoning out at her clothes. She claims she has a mountain of clothes, but nothing to wear.
Decision fatigue. It's a real thing. But here's where the source material highlights a really important grammatical distinction for English learners. It's the difference between try on and put on.
Oh, this is a classic stumbling block.
Break it down for us.
Okay. Try on is the experiment. It's the test phase. You take a shirt, you put it on your body to see if it fits or if the color looks good on you. Sarah tries on 5 shirts.
But she doesn't keep them on.
Right. She takes them off and throws them on the floor. Trying on implies you aren't committed yet. You're just testing.
And put on.
Put on is the final action. You put on your coat and you leave the house. You don't try on your coat and leave unless you weren't sure it was yours. So Sarah tries on 5 things, but she eventually puts on 1 thing.
That makes perfect sense. Try on is the process, put on is the result. But because Sarah is rushing, remember she lost time to the snooze button battle, we get into what the text calls wardrobe malfunctions.
Wardrobe malfunction. Such a great phrase for when your clothes fail you. The text mentions 2 specific disasters. First, putting something on inside out.
That's when the inner seam is facing the world, right?
Exactly. And usually if your shirt is inside out, you also have the second disaster, which is the tag sticking out.
The little white label at the back of the neck?
The text paints this really funny, slightly sad image of Sarah walking to the bus stop. She thinks she looks completely professional, but the tag is just flapping in the wind behind her neck.
It's the universal sign of a chaotic morning. If you see someone with their tag out, you just know they had a rough start. So that wraps up the morning. They have survived the wake-up, the bathroom, and the closet. Now we move to part 2, the daily grind. This is from the 2nd episode of the source material.
We are leaving the house, and the first obstacle is the journey to work. The vocabulary word here is commute.
Commute. It's the trip you take from home to work and back again. And Sarah? Well, Sarah hates her commute. She calls it a nightmare.
She takes the subway, and she uses an idiom here that is just so visceral. She says, during rush hour, we are packed like sardines.
Packed like sardines. I love this image. Let's unpack it, pun intended.
Ah, good one. So sardines are small, oily fish, and when they are sold in supermarkets, they come in these little flat tin cans. To maximize the space, the fish are packed incredibly tightly, head to tail, head to tail. There is 0 air, 0 space between them.
So when Sarah says she is packed like a sardine, she isn't just saying it's crowded. She's saying she is physically pressed against other human beings. She can't move her arms. She can't turn around. She is trapped in the tin can of the subway car.
It conveys not just the lack of space, but the helplessness of it. You just have to stand there and wait to be released when the doors open.
And her coping mechanism. The text says she scrolls through her phone. She ignores the person sneezing next to her. She isolates herself mentally because she can't isolate herself physically.
Now compare that to Leo. Does Leo get packed like a sardine?
Of course not. Leo chooses to cycle.
He rides his bike. He says he gets to breathe the air and see the trees.
Although the text does include a funny little reality check here, Leo admits that he is also breathing in car exhaust.
Which I think is a nice touch. Even Leo's perfect morning has a little bit of pollution in it. He's not immune to the city.
Now there is a third option mentioned. If you aren't on the subway and you aren't on a bike, you might be stuck in traffic.
Stuck. Immobile. Usually referring to cars or buses. Just sitting there watching the red brake lights in front of you.
So they survive the commute. They finally arrive at the workplace. And the vocabulary they use to describe their arrival tells you everything about their attitude. Leo clocks in.
Clock in. This is a phrase with some real history to it.
Yeah, it sounds very industrial, doesn't it?
It does. It comes from the old factory days where you had a physical time card and you put it into a machine, a clock that stamped the time on it. Ka-chunk! You are officially present.
Leo says he clocks in at exactly 9:00. It implies precision. He is officially registering his presence.
Sarah, on the other hand, sneaks in.
Sneak, S-N-E-A-K. To move quietly, stealthily, specifically to avoid being seen.
She sneaks in at 9:15, so she's 15 minutes late. She doesn't want the boss to see her, and she doesn't go to her desk to work. She goes straight for the caffeine fix.
A fix. We usually hear this word associated with addiction, right? Like a junkie needs a fix.
Yes. Sarah uses it humorously, but is it a joke? She says she needs the coffee to function. It's her fuel.
Once the workday actually begins, the source material introduces us to some classic office speak or corporate jargon. These are phrases that people use in meetings to sound professional, even if they aren't saying much.
The text highlights two that I think everyone listening has heard. Touch base and circle back.
Touch base. It actually comes from baseball, right?
It does. You touch the base. But in the office, it just means, let's talk briefly, like, I just wanted to touch base with you about the report.
And circle back.
That means, let's return to this topic later. Maybe you hit a difficult point in a meeting, and someone says, let's circle back to that offline.
Sarah's reaction to this jargon is very telling. The text says she just nods and smiles while thinking about lunch.
Which brings us to the most important part of the workday, lunch. And again, we have the Leo method and the Sarah method. Leo engages in meal prep.
Meal prep. This is a noun and a verb. It refers to the practice of preparing all your meals for the week in advance. Usually people do this on Sundays.
So Leo has his stack of Tupperware containers. It's disciplined, it's cost-effective, and it's healthy. He knows exactly what he is eating.
Sarah, however, is playing it by ear. She has to choose between a packed lunch, which she didn't bring, or takeout.
Takeout. Ordering food from a restaurant to eat elsewhere.
But she uses a specific phrase for her action. She goes to grab a bite.
Grab a bite. I like this phrase. It implies speed. You aren't sitting down for a 3-course fine dining experience. You are running to the deli, buying a sandwich, and eating it. You are grabbing it.
So lunch happens, they eat, and then the danger zone hits. The text calls it the afternoon slump.
This is a biological phenomenon, usually around 3:00 p.m. Your body temperature drops slightly, your digestion is using up your energy, and you feel a sudden wave of exhaustion.
Sarah says her eyes start closing. She's staring at her computer screen, but nothing is happening in her brain. It's a mini version of zoning out from the morning.
And look at the coping mechanisms. Leo eats nuts or an apple, slow-release energy. He's managing his blood sugar.
And Sarah?
Sarah eats chocolate.
The sugar spike. She just wants the immediate rush, but she powers through. And finally, it's time to end the day. We have 2 key phrasal verbs here, wrap up and head out.
Wrap up is used for finishing tasks. It comes from wrapping a package, closing it completely so it's ready to go. You wrap up a project, you wrap up a meeting.
And head out is simply to leave. I'm going to head out. Sounds much more natural than saying I am going to depart now.
Leo, being Leo, clears his desk and makes a to-do list for tomorrow before he heads out. He's bringing closure to the day.
Sarah's just running for the elevator. She's escaping. Which leads us to part 3, the night rituals. This is from episode 3. We are back in the sanctuary of the home.
And Sarah describes the transition from work Sarah to home Sarah with a very specific physical action. She says, the moment I walk in, I kick off my shoes.
Kick off, not take off, kick off.
Take off is polite. You bend down, you untie the laces. Kick off is forceful. It implies relief. You are launching those shoes across the room.
She throws her bag on the floor. It's the universal gesture of, I am done with the world.
You know, they need to eat dinner. Leo uses a phrasal verb here that suggests he is actually a bit of a chef. He says he is going to whip up a quick dinner.
Whip up, W-H-I-P, like a whip, or like whipping cream.
When you whip up a meal, it means you cook it very fast, but the result is usually pretty good. It implies effortless skill. Oh, I'll just whip up some pasta.
Leo whips up grilled salmon with asparagus.
Show off.
Totally a show-off. Sarah, however, relies on leftovers.
Leftovers. The food remaining from a previous meal. Sarah specifically mentions cold pizza.
Which, to be fair, she defends. She says cold pizza is the breakfast of champions and the dinner of champions.
Leo is horrified, of course, but after dinner, Leo immediately does the dishes. He can't relax if the house is messy. Sarah moves to the couch. And here we get some of the best relaxation vocabulary in the whole series.
She says she is gonna veg out.
Veg out, V-E-G, short for vegetable.
I love this idiom. It basically means to become a vegetable.
Precisely. A vegetable is motionless. It is passive. To veg out means to do absolutely nothing, usually while lying on a couch. It's a state of deep, brainless relaxation. You are physically there, but you are a potato.
And while she is vegging out, she engages in binge watching.
Binge watch. This is a relatively new word that came with the rise of streaming services like Netflix. A binge historically meant excessive drinking or eating. But now to binge watch means to watch an entire season of a show in one sitting.
Sarah says just one more episode, and suddenly it's 2:00 a.m. And this leads to the most complex and fascinating psychological concept in our source material. Leo gives it a name. Revenge, bedtime procrastination.
This is a huge topic. Let's break it down word by word. Procrastination is delaying something you need to do. Bedtime procrastination is delaying sleep. But the key word here is revenge.
Who are we taking revenge on?
We're taking revenge on the day itself. Or perhaps on our bosses or our responsibilities.
Explain that logic.
The idea is that you feel you didn't have any control over your time during the day. You were commuting packed like a sardine. You were working, nodding, and smiling at jargon. You were doing chores. None of that time belonged to you.
Right.
So late at night, even though you are exhausted, you refuse to sleep. Because that time from midnight to 2:00 a.m. is the only time that is truly yours.
Wow. So you are stealing time back from sleep to feel free.
Exactly. You are sabotaging your own health to regain a sense of agency.
That hits hard. Sarah identifies with it heavily. She says, "You're describing my life. It's a tragedy." Because she knows she's going to be tired tomorrow, but in the moment, watching TV feels like freedom.
It's a very modern problem, and it connects directly to the bedroom routine. Leo's strategy for sleep is to unplug.
Unplug. He literally and metaphorically disconnects. He turns off his phone, his laptop, his Wi-Fi. He dims the lights to set the atmosphere. He reads a physical book.
Sarah tries to read. She really does. But she falls into the digital trap. She says she ends up scrolling through TikTok.
The doom scroll.
She says, one minute I'm trying to learn a dance move, and the next minute I'm watching a cat play the piano.
The algorithm knows her weakness. It's cats.
It highlights how hard it is to wind down when you have that stimulation. But finally, whether you are Leo or Sarah, the day must end. We have two idioms for going to sleep mentioned in the text. Hit the sack and hit the hay.
Hit the sack, hit the hay. Where do these come from?
They both originate from a time when mattresses were literally sacks filled with hay or straw. Before memory foam, before springs, you slept on a bag of dried grass.
So you were literally hitting the hay when you laid down.
Exactly. I'm going to hit the hay. It's a very old agricultural phrase that has survived into the modern age.
Leo hits the hay. He sets his alarm for 5:00 a.m. again.
And the cycle restarts.
So we've walked through the whole day, from the morning war to the night rituals. We've seen the morning person versus the zombie. We've clocked in, we've vegged out.
It's interesting to reflect on Leo's final sentiment in the source text. He says, your routine defines your life.
That's a heavy thought for a deep dive about vocabulary. But it's true. The words we use, whether we are whipping up dinner or just heating up leftovers, paint a picture of who we are.
And I think it's important to say, and the source material hints at this, that neither one is necessarily wrong. Sarah is functional. She has a job. She feeds herself. She has fun. Leo is optimized. But knowing the English vocabulary for both styles allows you to express your own reality more accurately.
Exactly. You don't have to be a Leo to use the word meal prep. And even Leo probably veggies out occasionally.
Maybe once a year on his birthday. Maybe.
So to wrap this up, we have a final challenge for you, the listener. We want you to think about the questions roused in the source material.
We want you to apply this vocabulary to your own life. First question, what is your morning fail? Like Sarah, have you ever gone to work with your shirt inside out? Or mismatched socks?
I once went to work with my slippers on. I completely forgot to change into shoes.
That is a classic morning fail. Second question, do you prefer the office or working from home? Are you clocking in officially or are you staying in your pajamas?
And finally, what is your favorite way to veg out? Is it Netflix? Is it video games? Is it staring at the wall like a rebooting computer?
Ask yourself, are you a Leo or a Sarah? Or maybe a mix?
I think we all know I'm a Sarah.
And I'm afraid I might be a Leo.
Uh-huh. Well, we need Leos to keep the world running.
And we need Sarahs to keep it interesting.
True that. Try to use one of the phrases we discussed today. Maybe afternoon slumps or packed like sardines in a conversation this week. That's your mission.
Indeed. Sleep tight.
Thanks for diving deep with us. See you next time.